Hey guys, it's Kate Journey, and I am back today to finish what I started a couple of weeks ago. um, so if you weren't here a couple of weeks ago, this is my gamified plotting system. I've already rolled for everything, and I'm not going to go back through it, but I will link it in the cards. So we are coming back around to the gamified plotting, the part where I plot out on sticky notes and do the things. And instead of my usual whole book outline that I do, I'm doing the gamified, or not the gamified, I can brain. I'm doing like the overall series, and then I'm going to plot an episode, and it'll be great. So what we're starting with a horror fantasy. We know we've got an evil partner. So an evil business partner is what we've got. So I'm going to circle that. We've got an evil business partner. And then we've got a hidden magical school. And we all rolled for this last week. I rolled for this last week on the channel, so you guys saw that. And so what we're looking at is the main character is the principal, maybe. I think that was my idea last week, which I still like. And then the bad guy is another teacher. And we've got the main school has good fairies and witches that are open. So the witchcraft is open within like all communities, but this specific school is hidden. And then we've got kind of a medieval society with plagues. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's cool. Completely forgot. And then we've got set in a cold place with fjords. So that's cool. All right, and then on this next page, we've got our characters. Oh yeah, my main character is a guy named Fred. I forgot. Okay, we got Fred, we got Mary, and we got Kevin. I'm just gonna laugh for a second. I completely forgot about this. Life has been so hectic. Okay, so where we're gonna start out with introducing the school. From Fred's perspective. I can write. Okay. And then, so if we're looking at this the same way that I look at most things, if this is season 1, and if you want to know what I'm talking about with seasons and books and episodes, I will also link that in the cards. And it'll be at the end of the video too. But so this is season 1, which is the first half of like a book. So this would be like a midpoint in a book, but there has to be like some sort of a resolution here. So we'll get to that, and then when we break it down farther into the episode, I'll explain that too. So what we're looking at is we're opening, and then and we have to introduce the conflict, and they try to fix it. It gets worse. We've got a side quest, so this is another character. And we're just gonna kind of play this out how it goes. I want to do different color for the side quests. Okay, we are going to do this obnoxious pink for the side quests. I say it's obnoxious. It's actually not. I kind of like that pink, but anyway, what was I saying? I don't remember. Okay, so I know that all these side quests are going to be from Mary's perspective, and what's happening with her in the school. I don't actually want to put all those on. I thought I wanted to, but they don't fit very well. Okay, so we have to figure out exactly what's going on here. So maybe at the end is where they figure out that it's a teacher that is sabotaging the school. So only be a fellow teacher. Because I do not want to write the word sabotage. I'm just going to write bad guy. So it's got to be another teacher that is sabotaging the school, that is causing all these problems. And so maybe well, okay, so what bad is happening in this? Because we didn't really like narrow down what this guy is doing in the school. So maybe Maybe they are, I don't know. Oh, maybe let's go with they're introducing the plague to the school. So they're letting in people who have the plague to the school. Maybe they're doing, ooh, maybe they're doing some sort of uh like black market something or other, and it's in the process of bringing in things that they shouldn't. People are getting sick. I like that idea. Okay. So, um kid gets sick with a plague and school is hidden. Shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't be possible. Let's say this school is like a boarding school. This is where all these magical parents sent their kids to school to like hide them from this plague to keep them safe, and they are now no longer safe at the school, which I like. So what is causing this? What spread this? What's happening here? Now, if we're looking at plagues and we're looking at something like some sort of a magical smallpox, that would work because it stays kind of on blankets and things like that. So we're just going to make a note on the side. Magical smallpox. Oh, and maybe they are blaming the fairies for it because the fairies are the ones most susceptible to getting sick, maybe. Um, we'll see. We'll see. So, then they try to fix it and it gets worse. So they try to, let's say they try to isolate the students. Sorry. We've got some flies going on. Everybody's been really sick and I didn't do the dishes, and I must have had like some sort of like egg infestation on some fruit that I brought in because the gnats have just gone crazy. So we're like scrubbing everything and everything's clean and we're just waiting for them to die out now. It's insane. Okay. Um anyway, so I just lost my train of thought completely. It's gone. It disappeared. Oh, okay, so they isolate the kid. Um and then another student that's unconnected to the first gets sick. Okay. So like kid who's in a completely different class, different age group, whatnot, also gets sick, and they're like, how are these two connected? There's no connection. Okay, so side quest number 1, maybe we're looking at Mary. Maybe Mary is okay. So maybe Mary is the nurse. Works with good fairies. They're all stumped on how this kid got sick and also how to help. Okay. All right. So now we're looking at what is our principal going to do? What is Fred going to do about this problem? So maybe Fred says, okay, guys, maybe we all need to hang out in our bedrooms for a while, take a week off, and try to slow down this spreading so that we can kind of try to isolate it. So stop classes a week to stop spread. And then during that week, let's say the rest of this is happening during that week. Maybe. Although if this was an episode on like TV, it couldn't be just a week. So like 4 episodes could be a week. But I'm not doing this for TV. I would be doing this as like something that I would set up on, Ream or something like that. So they stop the school and to stop the spread, and there would be a whole episode about stopping the school and like all of the complications of stopping the school. So pressure, kids are sick anyway. Staff begin to get sick too. Okay, so let's say staff begins to get sick. I'm going to say that at some points, maybe right here is where they think they've got it figured out, and then someone here gets sick again. Like they go through this process and everybody's getting better. So maybe, okay, so maybe Mary, because we're on a side quest right now. Mary finds something that helps and spread stops. Okay, so they find something that helps and the spread stops. So principal is still looking into how did it start. So start. Because he doesn't want it to happen again. And then maybe here's where he finds out about maybe here's where he finds out about contraband. Items with sick people. Like little things. It doesn't have to be a bunch of big things because like smallpox, that's so easily spread. We are very lucky that it is eradicated. Yeah. So he's figured out, like he's put it all together, that it's all these little things that these people have that are contraband that he was kind of overlooking because it's not that big of a deal because they're just little things, right? But each and every one of them has something that is contraband. And so he's like, okay, it's the person who's bringing stuff in that's causing this illness. So he kind of figures it out right there. And then so this episode, he's trying to find one is bringing in items. Trying to find the smuggler. That's the word I was looking for before I wrote all of that down. He's trying to find the smuggler. Okay. So, like, they're having this fun and games moment where he is, like, searching around the school, trying to figure out who's doing it, whatnot. And then we get to this midpoint where, like, let's say he's like, okay, well, we've got it figured out for the most part. Like, we've stopped the illnesses. Everybody's feeling better. And then at this midpoint, let's say Fred gets sick. And he's trying to figure out, like, how he doesn't have any contraband, like what's going on, how did he get sick, and this will be the process of him being sick and like trying to figure it out from his sick bed how that happened. And then let's see. Okay, so let's say at the end of him being sick, he starts to put in more security. That's a good idea. So he starts to get proactive about it. He adds security. um, yeah, spells around um, openings at school. My handwriting is terrible. Okay, so we've got spells around the openings at school. Like, he's trying to figure out who's bringing this stuff in because now he's sick, and it's obviously been planted in his room to get him sick, and to kind of throw him off. Excuse me. Okay. So, yeah. So if it's been planted, okay, so maybe all of the alarms triggered at once. Like to throw him off. Like let's say Kevin. I'm sorry, I cracked myself up. Let's say Kevin has decided to throw him off. Our bad guy is throwing him off by having students and some of the fairies and things like that trigger all of these alarms all at once as like a way to overload the system and to kind of point fingers everywhere instead of just that like let's say he's like, okay, they're narrowing it down to me, like maybe they figured out it had to be a teacher. Oh no, that's at the end. They figure out it had to be a teacher at the end. Okay. So like before this, they're thinking it could be staff, it could be one of the students, some of the students, like a group of them. Um, so Kevin sets it up so that a bunch of different people take the fall um but it all kind of starts to like, well, who said what and what was happening where and who sent who, because they've all been sent by different people for different reasons, and it gets kind of really confused and screwy. So that'll be fun. Uh, distract. Okay. Because this bad guy wins with confusion, because as long as they don't know who he is, they can't stop him, right? Okay, so we are on another Mary one. So say Mary helps, maybe she does some detection spells. um like spells directly related to the illness to try to detect it all around the school. Maybe I don't know. How would she help in this situation? Like, they've gotten it under control for the most part. Nothing new is coming in, but now they've got this problem. So maybe Mary, because she works with the fairies, I'm thinking, she sends fairies to hide, spy around the school. And these are like adult fairies, so she's asking nicely. These are not like a Harry Potter dummy situation. These are like fully grown adult fairies who choose to work with her. So she's asking them like, hey, could you go and look around, and like hide and start just kind of keeping an eye on things, because we've got the situation and these things are coming in. So let's say here, another sick kid. Um, and that would be the fallout. Like, these things are still being brought in somehow, and they're not sure how. But now they've got yet another sick kid on their hands. Um, and like the frustration and the overwhelm of that happening when they think they've got it under control would be like super overwhelming. And now they're looking into this kid, like this would be an episode looking directly into this specific kid and why they got sick. And maybe this kid is like maybe this kid is a human fairy kid, and it looks intentional to get Faye to stop looking. Which, if you've ever looked into the Fae, that would just piss them off. But yeah, so maybe that's what that is. And so they realize that this has been planted on this kid. This kid could not have gotten sick in any other way. Maybe this kid is somebody who isolates, or who's very careful or something, or who like works with Mary, and he's very careful, whatever. So this kid should not be getting sick, and they got sick and they don't know how. So let's say the kid gets better, and we're looking at calm before the storm. So something needs to happen in this episode, but maybe it's like an episode where they decide, oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Let's jump to the next one and I'll come back to that. Doing this in a linear fashion is actually really kind of different from how I normally plot if you've watched any of my other plotting videos. And I'm trying to do it in a linear fashion just to kind of keep the flow. It's easier when it's this small of a plan to do it in a linear way that keeps it slow, but it's hard for my brain to not want to jump to different places. Okay, so we're gonna do this next side quest. So maybe maybe Mary has an outside contact who is involved in the black market, and she finally gets a hold of them, and that they'll help. Okay, as I add an extra L in there. When I'm writing fast, I sometimes do weird stuff like that. Okay. Oh, wrong one. So let's say Mary's been kind of hesitating this entire time to like get involved because she doesn't want her boss to know that she knows somebody who's in the black market, who like she doesn't want to point the finger at herself, but she's decided something happens here that makes her decide, okay, like I'm going to start helping, and I'm going to jump in. So maybe Fred starts ruling people out. So like Fred's ruling out, some of the staff, some of the helpers, like things like that. Fred's ruling people out, and Mary realizes that he trusts her. Which helps her take this risk to contact her outside person and try to get some help going. Okay, so betrayal or salvation. So I think what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have a betrayal. And I think what it will be is I don't know. Okay, so worst thing possible happens. So worst thing possible happens is a sick kid dies. Because that is the worst possible thing that can happen in this scenario. A sick kid dies. And in the afterwards, Mary is distraught. Digs harder. Um, and maybe in the process, she gets closer to Fred. To Fred. Just one L. I can spell. I promise. Oh, and hey, I rhyme. That's funny. Okay. So, Mary, in this process, she kind of digs in deeper. She's really looking for a solution. Um, and yeah. So then, because that's her strength within is this, and Fred's strength within would be finally, um, finally deciding to stop blaming students, I think, because up until this point, he needs to be blaming the students, or I can move this. In fact, I think I'm going to move this. I think that this is a great betrayal or salvation. Like, he figures out that it can only be a teacher that's doing this, and the idea of a teacher hurting their children is like so abhorrent to him. And then a sick kid dies. So they're looking into teachers. Um, and Fred is going to have to ask himself, should he shut down the school, or are the kids still safer at the school? And maybe he's starting to, because he's got all this pressure from the parents, especially like parent pressure, because they're in this school to protect them from these plagues and from the bad things that are going on in their society, and now they're getting sick. So maybe Fred is deciding right here whether or not to to shut down the school. Are the kids still safe here? What's going on? So maybe the climax would be um, he starts to shut down the school and something stops him. So that would be the best resolution here, because he's like, okay, it's building to this part where they're going to have to shut down the school. And on top of that, that's the last thing that Kevin wants, because he's making his money by bringing in contraband to the school. So something happens here that stops the school shutdown. So maybe a Patsy comes forward and takes responsibility. Um, and so they keep the school open. But Fred is unsure. And this is a great like midpoint to a novel. So if you're looking at this as the first half to a novel, this scene here is actually like the midpoint of the like a book that this would be. If it goes books down to seasons, down into, this would be a great midpoint for the book. And end to the season, because you're like, okay, you're ending the season thinking, okay, we figured this out. We know what's happening, but at the same time, Fred is questioning, like, I don't really think that this guy's the bad guy. I kind of ruled them out based on this, and this. Why are they volunteering? Like, it would be a whole kind of exploration of this person who comes forward to stop the school from closing and what motivates them. And then in the next season, it would be what motivated them, to come forward as a patsy, and like kind of discovering, it would be the process of discovering that it was Kevin behind all of this. And that would be the end of like the first book, if I was making this a series, would be discovering that that Kevin is the bad guy, and he's the one that's behind all of this, and his motivations and whatnot, and all the things. Okay, so we've got our season. So we've got from the start of the season to the end of the season, And what I'm going to do, because I don't want to try to pick which one of these I'm going to write, I am going to roll a d20 because there are 20 scenes. And I got new dice over the holidays, and I'm very excited about them. Okay. All right. Yeah. This is not a d20. This is a d12. Heh. Oh. Yeah. I can brain. There we go. It is too early, and I have been too crazy over the last few weeks. The last couple of weeks have been absolutely insane for me. Absolutely um not great. They've been not great. The holidays were great, but sick kids is not fun. Anyway, side quest. Okay, so I am rolling this d20 to figure out which of these scenes that I'm going to break down for you guys on the next page. So, 14. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at Fred starts ruling people out, and Mary realizes that he trusts her. Okay, so now we're breaking this situation down. So, we're gonna put you like way up here. And I've got more room in here, so I think I'm just gonna write on here instead of on sticky notes, but that's probably gonna be a mistake, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, I'm moving all of this. So that I can write easier. Okay. So, we know going into this situation that Fred is starting to rule people out. So the opening of this would be Fred starts. Well, no, because Fred doesn't start the search because Fred's been searching this entire time. So Fred shows Mary and fairies his list of possible offenders. And Mary is on it. And he's being honest with her. He's like, look, you're on this list too. Like, I'm looking at you. And I hate to say that, but I would much rather ask for your help. Like, this is what's going on. And I'm trusting you out of all the stuff because you're the one that's making these kids better. So I'm hoping I'm not wrong, but you are still on my list. And that's how the situation starts. And by the end, we want to say Mary ruled out. So, okay, so we're once again like, who is the bad guy in this episode? Like, let's say there's new bad guys or whatnot. Probably not. So when I'm looking at these things as like episodes, this in the first episode is like, okay, we're starting to introduce the bad guy, even though the second episode is where we really get into the bad situation. In the first episode, we do haven't introduced the bad guy, but it's more like, okay, this is the situation that's going on. These are like the tensions that are already established within this situation. And then towards the end, it would be like, okay, so what's going, like the kid starts to get sick, or we start to get worried about something going on here, and then the kid gets sick, and in the next episode we work through the kid being sick. But for this, where we're at, because the next episode is about Mary deciding to contact and then contacting her person, the climax would be Mary disclosing her connections to Fred to offer to help. So now she's showing trust in him. She's saying, okay, look, I'm trusting you that you are not going to persecute me. Here's what's going on. Like, I have this connection to the black market that I don't talk about. Um, and I can ask them to start looking into who could be bringing in contraband and who could be bringing in these things that have been exposed to this magical smallpox. So, and we're gonna go, the worst thing possible happens here is Fred looks hard at Mary and her fairies, like the fairies that work with her. Because, like, let's say, okay, the fairies are the ones who are the only ones who could potentially be moving these things around. He's really like, okay, the only person who could potentially like climb this wall to get to this room would be one of these fairies or something like that. Some situation where we're looking at it and the only possible solution is that a fairy did it. So, kid gets sick in possible way, and fingers at the fairies. Because we all know humans like to point at the other. We enjoy very much this other, and if we don't have another human other, we will make one up. So they're pointing their fingers at the fairies, like, okay, this couldn't have been a normal witch. This had to be, a fairy. And so, like, the fingers are pointed at her and her fairies, and like potentially them working together, and maybe a whole bunch of other different made up reasons. And so maybe the strength within would be Mary and fairies agreed to a search, a public one, and they are cleared. And maybe potentially Fred apologizes and gets vulnerable. Which makes her trust him and say, okay, I've got these connections, so we're gonna figure this out. And I'm gonna help you figure this out more than just what I'm doing at the school. But you need to not, hate me because I have this connection and not think that I'm guilty. Like, I've shown you I am not guilty. So in this, it would be, I'd probably just not, I would probably just not with what's that. So sometimes when you're plotting, you just kind of have to ignore what the label says because we already know what the bad guy in the situation is. So we, Fred and Mary meet with some people on the list. And let's say they're trying to eliminate some. And there's planted evidence. Which means that there's like nothing that you can trust. If there's planted evidence that people are like, look, there's no way that's there. I would never do that. Like, that's not even something that I would use or something like that. Like, there's planted evidence that has very obviously been planted. So now Fred and Mary are very confused. Yeah. That doesn't work there anymore. See, this is why I use sticky notes, because now I'm like, man. So Mary cannot be ruled out here because she is ruled out down here. So, maybe contraband. found in, let's say it's found in the hospital area. So yeah, there's contraband found in the hospital area. So now, Fred and other people are kind of looking at Mary and the fairies who are working in the hospital as like, hey, were you doing this? And then this kid gets impossibly sick and it points even more fingers at the fairies. So there's planted evidence. And then maybe like something taunting object left in Fred's room. Potentially. Like, let's say Kevin's not just doing this for money, he's doing it for a lark. He's doing it because he's angry. He's doing it for a lot of different reasons that, I haven't figured out yet because I'm not actually writing the story at the moment. But let's say, like, for now, that he's taking joy in putting different things in different places and enjoying the chaos that he's sowing, and the kind of like, oh, you're gonna look for me. I'm gonna make you look at you. I'm gonna make you the bad guy. This kind of mentality of like, let's play chicken with each other. So maybe for right here, because we have a climax or we have a midpoint in each episode, and there's got to be something that our main character, right now our main character is Fred. We're looking at Fred. So for here, there's got to be something right here that helps Fred grow just a smidge. Not a whole lot, because over the course of the season, he's going to grow a whole lot, but just a little bit. He's got to understand that he's on the wrong track and kind of switch things just a smidge. So this is kind of a turning point in the episode. So maybe this is a moment where maybe this is another vulnerable moment. And Mary, which will make her looking guilty over here feel hard for him and hurt him more. So there's this moment with Fred and Mary. Maybe they have like a romantic moment, or they have like a deeply emotional moment. Something here happens, and I would have to figure it out as I was writing, that's deeply emotional between Fred and Mary that kind of helps bring them together. But then this is going to kind of pull them apart a little bit. But also kind of make him want to clear her name, but also be like, did you leave this stuff? Like, are you taunting me with this object? That kind of thing. Okay, I'm actually pretty happy with that, especially considering that it is very early in the morning. I have not had coffee yet, and I completely forgot what I was doing. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back in a couple of days with another video. Yeah, see you then.